So the Trump administration has just won another legal battle where the Supreme Court allowed for people to be deported to a third country, this specifically South Sudan. So these are individuals that had come to the United States, have been supposedly convicted of crimes, and they're being sent to South Sudan to get them out of the United States. But these people aren't from South Sudan. They're from Cuba, Mexico, Laos, Myanmar, Sudan, and Vietnam. And if you don't know, South Sudan is not a safe place right now. It's been on the brink of returning to civil war for weeks and months now. There were some flare-ups in violence. There's lots of displacement. South Sudan has suffered from a horrible civil war in the past, and it is not a stable country. The State Department currently, right now, warns against Americans to travel to South Sudan because of the risk of violence and criminality. And so this comes into like a wider question of not only, what does it mean for the United States to be sending people to third countries, places that they've never been before, that they have no ties to, just because we want to get them out of the United States, but also what happens to them when they get there? Are they able to work? Are they able to get a job? Do they have permanent residency in this new third country? Do they even have citizenship somewhere? Do they have a passport? Are they going to become a stateless person? Can they leave South Sudan? Or are they permanently stuck there the rest of their lives? And then what does that do? You're sending somebody that has a history of criminal behavior, whatever that criminal behavior may or may not be. And then you're sending them to a country where they have no way of making money, no background or knowledge of the country that they're going to, assuming no housing or place where they're going to live. So what happens to these people? If you expand this out to a massive scale, you're inviting all kinds of problems. You're basically setting these people up to fail and cause problems in another country. But beyond that, like I said before, they just become a stateless person. And then, if they want to leave South Sudan, can they? Do they have documentation? Or do they have anything that identifies who they are, a passport, something that'll allow them to travel internationally? Because, to get on a flight, you have to show who you are. You have to have identification. You have to have a passport, etc. And so if you're living in a third country like South Sudan, third country meaning like it's not your country of origin, it's not the country where you were living before, what kind of authority does South Sudan have to hold you there? Are they going to be just imprisoned in that country? South Sudan has a history of abusing prisoners, torturing prisoners, etc. That kind of violates several doctrines in international human rights law as well, sending somebody to another country where they have a reasonable fear of being physically harmed. So these questions keep emerging, and I don't think we have answers to any of these things because the Trump administration is just shooting from the hip and not caring about what's happening to any of these people. And I know there's going to be some people who are going to say, well, they're criminals. Like, who cares? Like, as long as they're not in our country. The problem is because the Trump administration is moving so fast and loose with this, and people are not being given due process to actually go through a process, identify who they are, go through, some kind of court proceeding, be able to defend themselves, be able to, appeal. There's plenty of people that may be perfectly innocent that can be wrapped up in this and sent to random countries where they have no way of getting out. And that's a very dangerous thing because, once you do that, it's really hard to turn back from that. And Americans, non-Americans, that are living in the United States should be concerned because if you're getting, swept up off the street and you're not allowed to identify who you are, whatever, they throw you on a plane, they deport you, they say, hey, you've, committed a crime, they send you to another country. That's it. Like, how do you get back from that? You're not able to take any of your documentation with you. Then you get to that other country. You can't prove who you are. You can't prove that you're an American citizen. What happens? It's really terrifying what is happening right now in our country. And frankly, I don't think people are paying enough attention or quite concerned enough about how far this can go. Remember, we're only not even 7 months into the Trump presidency. We have 4 years. there's a lot of damage that can be done over the next 4 years.